In the late spring of 1888, the small town of River Bend, Missouri, stretched lazily along the curve of the Missouri River. The river glittered under the early morning sun, its waters whispering secrets to the grass and the willow trees lining its banks. But on a hill overlooking the town stood a house unlike any other. It was the Marrow House. Broad, white, and peeling with age, its windows glimmered as if holding secrets. Locals spoke about it in quiet tones, leaning over fences and whispering. Some said it was cursed. Some said it was blessed. Most agreed on one strange truth. Every spring, a new door appeared on its exterior. Nobody knew how it happened. No carpenter visited. No tools were left behind. Just another door, pristine and unmarked, standing like a doorway to a story that had yet to be told. 12-year-old Elias Finch was the first child brave or curious enough to climb the hill and count the doors himself. Every morning he walked along the muddy road to school, past the willow trees, and glanced at the house. 1, 2, 3, 6, he whispered. One April morning, 6 doors now adorned the sides of the house. Each looked different, some carved with swirls, some plain, one painted deep crimson like a drop of blood. Elias tried to imagine what they led to: rooms of gold, hidden stairways, secret gardens. His teacher, Miss Lorna, told him not to let imagination run wild, but he couldn't shake the feeling that the doors were alive in some way. The house belonged to widow Agatha Marrow, a woman whose name had been whispered in Riverbend for years. Her husband, a river trader, had drowned mysteriously in the Missouri 3 years prior, and ever since, Agatha had rarely ventured into town. Those who saw her described a thin, stooped figure with gray hair tied tightly in a bun, her eyes sharp, yet somehow distant. At times, neighbors claimed she spoke to the walls as though in conversation. At dusk, silhouettes could be seen through the windows, bending over candles, writing on scraps of paper and sliding them beneath the doors. People pitied her, but most feared her. Everyone agreed on one thing: there was something in that house that wasn't meant for ordinary folk to understand. Curiosity became too much for Elias to bear. One foggy morning, when the town was still swallowed by mist, he climbed the hill, careful to avoid branches and stones, until he stood before the newest door, painted a deep, shimmering blue like the river itself. He reached out, hand trembling, and touched the wood. It was warm, almost pulsing under his palm. A voice broke the silence. "You shouldn't touch that." Elias spun around. There stood Agatha, eyes sharp but soft, her hands clasped in front of her. "That one's not ready to be opened yet," she said, voice low. "But you can see it." To Elias's surprise, Agatha invited him inside. The house smelled of cedar, old parchment, and a faint trace of cinnamon, like memory itself. Each door inside the house led nowhere, just walls behind them. The boy frowned. "They're not for walking through," Agatha explained, gently stroking the blue door. "They're for remembering." Elias tilted his head. "Remembering what?" "People who have left this world," she said softly. "Some suddenly, some slowly. These doors, they mark their presence. A door appears for every soul who touched this house, or the town Agatha reached for a small leather book, worn and fragile, the Ledger of the Lost. Its pages were filled with names, dates, and faint sketches. Elias leaned closer, squinting at the faint ink. Each name belonged to someone who had died in Riverbend: children, farmers, wives, husbands. "When someone leaves," she explained, "the house grows a door for them. It waits for someone to remember them, to speak their name, to honor them." Elias swallowed hard. "So, these doors, they're not real doors?" "They're real," she replied, "but not in the way you think. They are reminders, invitations, to never forget. Agatha gestured to the first door, a deep crimson at the corner of the house. That one, she said, voice trembling slightly, appeared the year my husband drowned. At first I thought I was losing my mind, but one night I heard a knock, just once. I opened it and felt his presence, not his body, but his memory. He had come home. Elias shivered. You mean he came back? Not as a man, she whispered, but as something better. A reminder of love, of life, of what we leave behind. Every door is like that. Every door remembers someone. Soon, Riverbend grew restless. Word spread that Elias had visited the Marrow House. Some townsfolk dared to climb the hill, hoping for a glimpse. Some called Agatha a witch. Others whispered that the doors were miracles. But Elias, even at 12, felt something else entirely, a quiet sadness and a flicker of hope. He began helping Agatha clean the house, dusting, oiling hinges, painting new panels. Each spring, he waited to see where the new door would appear. With each new door, he realized something. The house wasn't strange. It was sacred. One summer evening, after a hard day at the riverbanks, Elias discovered a soggy envelope half buried in mud. The handwriting was childish, shaky. To my pa. If heaven's too far, come home, signed Martha Bell. Elias ran to Agatha, breathless. She took the letter with trembling fingers, folded it carefully, and pressed it against her chest. Then there'll be another door soon, she said softly, as if speaking to someone unseen. Elias didn't understand it yet, but he would soon. That year, the Missouri River swelled, overflowing its banks. The town scrambled as water devoured fields, barns, and fences. Elias and a few townsfolk rode through streets, turned canals, rescuing neighbors and pets. Exhausted, he climbed the hill to check on Agatha. There it was, the newest door, pale and gleaming under the moonlight. Water droplets clung to its frame, yet it radiated warmth. On the frame, carved in delicate, tiny letters, was Martha Bell's name. Elias pressed his hand to it and felt a whisper of presence, soft and comforting. A door for a girl he had never met, yet already felt he knew. Winter came harshly that year, heavier than anyone could remember. Snow piled against fences and barns, and the Missouri River froze in patches, leaving icy shards glinting under the pale sun. Inside the Marrow House, Agatha grew weaker. She coughed into her handkerchief, the sound brittle and painful. Her skin, once lined but sturdy, now seemed almost translucent. Elias, who had grown close to her over the years, stayed by her side, reading letters aloud and tending to the fire. One long evening, he finally dared to ask the question that had been gnawing at him for weeks. What happens when you go? Agatha looked at him, her eyes misty but steady. A faint smile touched her lips. Then the house will grow one last door, for me. And after that, it will belong to whoever remembers best. Elias's chest tightened. He didn't know how to comfort her, only that he wanted to. On her final day, Agatha called Elias to the kitchen. Pour 2 cups of tea, she said, her voice whispering like wind through trees. One for me, she said, and one for him. Elias glanced at the first door, crimson and aged, the one built for her husband. She settled into her chair by the fireplace, hands folded, her eyes resting on the flickering flames. As the clock struck noon, she placed a trembling hand on the crimson door. I'm home, she whispered. The room seemed to sigh, a warm hush settling over it. And then she was gone. Elias and the townspeople buried Agatha beside her husband under the old willow on the hill. The branches dipped low, brushing the earth, as if bowing to the couple laid to rest. That night, Lightning split the sky, and when the first light of dawn touched the hill, Riverbend gasped. There it was, a new white door, gleaming faintly in the morning sun. No one dared touch it. It seemed sacred, as though the house itself had paused to mourn and honor its keeper. Years passed. Elias grew into a young man, strong from labor on the river barges, yet he returned every spring to count the doors. The house remained silent. Doors continued to appear, though no one lived there. Each door carried the weight of memory, of lives touched, of love and grief left behind. Elias realized the house had become more than walls and wood. It had become a living testament to those Riverbend had loved and lost. One warm summer day in 1904, a stranger appeared at the top of the hill. A woman in a faded blue dress, her hair pinned neatly, looked at the Merrow house with awe. She introduced herself as Clara, Agatha's niece, searching for her family's home after years away. Elias, now 28, escorted her through the winding path up the hill. When Clara saw the doors, she froze. Her hands trembled against the railing. "She told me in her letters. The house would keep growing," she whispered. Elias, curious, asked softly, "Did she say why?" Clara's eyes glimmered with unshed tears. "Because grief doesn't stop. But neither does love." That night, something extraordinary happened. The white door, the one Agatha had received last, opened by itself. Elias and Clara heard gentle footsteps inside, careful and deliberate, moving across the old wooden floorboards. No one appeared, yet a soft warmth filled the air, like a presence both comforting and familiar. By morning, on the dining table, 2 cups of tea waited, still warm. The house had remembered its mistress. While repairing warped boards in the attic, Elias discovered dozens of folded letters hidden inside the walls. Each one was written by Agatha for a soul the doors had honored. One read, "To my neighbors who lost their boy in the flood, may this door help him find light." Another, addressed to Elias himself, read, "When you grow up, build doors in your heart, not walls." Elias sat in the dusty attic, overwhelmed with emotion. The house wasn't just magical, it was a vessel of love, care, and memory. Years later, Elias and Clara opened the Merrow house to travelers in need, the hilltop refuge quietly welcoming the lost and the weary. One night, after helping a soldier who had nowhere else to go, Elias returned to the hill. There, a new door had appeared, simple pine, unadorned. It wasn't for the soldier, nor for any visitor. It was for Elias. The house had waited to honor him while he was still alive, a gift from the life he had devoted to remembering, helping, and loving others. Elias finally understood. These doors weren't merely for the dead. They were for everyone who had left a mark, whether through kindness, love, or sacrifice. The house didn't demand grief. It celebrated the acts of the heart that left people remembered. Every door was a story. Every door was a life honored. By the time Elias reached old age, the Merrow house had over 30 doors. When he passed, Riverbend buried him beside Agatha and her husband under the willow tree, the branches whispering in the wind. That spring, townsfolk climbing the hill saw it, a golden door shimmering in the morning sun. Etched upon it were 2 names, Elias and Agatha. No one ever entered it. Yet those who paused felt warmth, laughter, and the faint clink of teacups behind the door. And each year afterward, another door appeared, for every soul remembered, every kindness honored, every love cherished. The Merrow house grew not just with doors, but with the legacy of memory and heart, inspiring every visitor to live in a way worth remembering.